ये तु धर्मामृतम् इदम् यथोक्तं पर्युपासते श्रद्धाधान मत्परमा भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियः। ये तु धर्मामृतम् इदम् यथोक्तं पर्युपासते श्रद्धाधान मत्परमा भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियः। What was Sonam? Translation and purport by Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ye, one who, two, but, dharmaya, generosity, amritam, understanding, idam, this, yatha, as, uktam, said, paripasate, completely engages, shraddha dhanaha, with faith, mat paramaha, taking the Supreme Lord as everything, bhaktaha, devotees, te, such persons, ativa, very, very, me, me, priyaha, dear, one who, but generosity, understanding this as said completely engages with faith, taking the Supreme Lord as everything, devotees, such persons, very, very dear. Very, very me, dear. Translation. He who follows this imperishable path of devotion service and who completely engages himself with faith, making me the supreme goal, is very, very dear to me. Purport. In this chapter, the religion of eternal engagement, the explanation of the process of transcendental service for approaching the Supreme Lord is given. This process is very dear to the Lord, and He accepts a person who is engaged in such a process. The question, who is one better one who is engaged in the um, path of impersonal Brahman, or one who is engaged in the personal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was raised by Arjun. And the Lord replied to him so explicit, sorry, explicitly that there is no doubt that devotion service to the personality of Godhead is the best of all processes of spiritual realization. In other words, in this chapter, it is decided that through good association, one develops attachment for pure devotion service and thereby accepts a bona fide spiritual master, and from him begins to hear and chant and observe the regulative principles of devotion service with faith, attachment, and devotion, and thus becomes engaged in transcendental service of the Lord. This path is recommended in this chapter. Therefore, there is no doubt that devotion service is the only absolute path for self realization, for the attainment of the Supreme Personality of God. The impersonal conception of the Supreme Absolute Truth, as described in this chapter, is recommended only up to the time one surrenders himself for self realization. In other words, as long as one does not have the chance to associate with the pure devotee, the impersonal conception may be beneficial. In the impersonal conception of the Absolute Truth, one works without fruitive result, meditates and cultivates knowledge to understand spirit and matter. This is necessary as long as one is not in the association of a pure devotee. Fortunately, if one develops directly a desire to engage in Krishna consciousness in pure devotion service, he does not need to undergo step by step improvements in spiritual realization. Devotion service, as described in the middle six chapters of Bhagavad Gita, is more congenial. One need not bother about materials to keep body and soul together, because by the grace of the Lord, everything is carried out automatically. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Srila Prabhupada explained and concluded this um, chapter, and in the purport gives very good points. So one of the points Srila Prabhupada are saying here, that when one, if he doesn't have a pure devotees association, it might be beneficial, the impersonal conception. But this is but engaging in devotion, pure devotion service is the is the solution, because as long as like he's he, like one person, if he, because there are a lot of other paths, other processes, and people try to um, get this realization of difference between matter and spirit, um, aham brahmasmi, or um, they 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 realize that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. But what next, what is the next step? So realizing this, or getting the Brahman realization is not enough. And the Srila Prabhupada, that's why the Krishna explains here, Srila Prabhupada are saying that the processes are very dear to the Lord, and one who is engaged in them is accepted by the Lord. But apart from other processes, this direct process, the direct worship of Lord, the Supreme Lord, Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the best, is the one. So association of pure devotees and rendering service to the Lord, then we can realize this. So thus developing attachment to the Lord by this, when we following this process. So this all happens when we follow the regulative principles very sincerely. I was listening Guru Maharaj's lecture on this verse, and Guru Maharaj are explaining in the lecture that how important is the regulative principles. Maharaj saying that the regulative principles are the gift by Srila Prabhupada to the world. Because Shuddhi, the purification of our life, is important, because purity is the force. So pure life will give you peaceful life. So this chapter is titled Devotion Service, and the Lord summarizing the qualities of devotees. So who is dear to him? As Srila Prabhupada explaining that process is very dear to the Lord. So when we follow devotion service very sincerely, the Lord will accept us. Process is the goal. We have discussed these points before, that devotion service leads to devotion service. So having firm faith is also important, as Lord is saying that engaging themselves with faith. So we must have 100% faith in the process, and then we make the Supreme Lord our goal. Maharaj says that Krishna means austerity. So we cannot do whatever we want and carry on doing bhakti. Somehow or other, it is needs to be understood that what is pure devotion service. His Grace Amrish Prabhuji said last week that onus is upon us. So we are taking association of our own mind, which is not in our control. So we need to understand that how much to associate with mind to the extent of doing bodily maintenance activities. Because as Srila Prabhupada said in the end, that one need not bother about materially to keep a body and soul together, because by the grace of the Lord everything is carried out automatically. So this is the point that we have discussed also in our Sunday class, that difficulty is bound to come. And do not think that we are following bhaktis and difficulties will disappear. No, difficulties are there before also and now also. The main point is how to remember Krishna always. So this is the real problem. Other difficulties are there before also and now also. So they come and goes, because the grace of the Lord, everything is carried out automatically. So yeah, if difficulty is coming, it means we are alive. That's what we concluded or we discussed also. So yeah, there is no soft corner in this world, like Maharaj said. So we always need to be ready to take up the challenges. But yeah, but the main goal we shouldn't forget. What is our main goal? What is the purpose of life? So here the devotion service, this chapter is very it's a short chapter, and I was listening Guru Maharaj and Maharaj saying that we should recite all the verses of this chapter, and I tried that, and it didn't take long. So we can recite this verse, the whole chapter, once like in the morning. So yes, so these are the points that I have realized, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna devotees. Thank you very much, His Grace Amrish Prabhu, our guest Punya Panga Devi Dasi Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for keeping us engaged in some kind of service to Guru Maharaj. I know it's not a quality service, but whatever we do, that whatever is my mind, yeah, that's what I do. Sorry, I missed last week class, and I'll try to combine those relations today. The verse we are studying today is Ye tu dharmamrit tam idam yatoktam parupasate shraddha dhana mata parama bhaktaste iti va me priyaha. Translation: those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. So very nicely Prabhupada explained this purport. Very nicely explains in the purport. And I was thinking that the categorization of these chapters means this is devotional service, this is Dhyan Yoga, this is means whatever 18th chapter, the name must have come from because when Krishna is singing these verses, he's not singing chapter wise, he's singing and then I don't know, I may be wrong. Maybe Vyasdev, when he's writing this, he has categorized these chapters. So very nicely, these 20 verses where Krishna is clarifying about the devotional service. And the point I like here is those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service, imperishable path, is 100% guarantee. You cannot go wrong if you follow this path. And the other Prabhupada very nicely, like in the last line, he writes, one need not bother about materials to keep body and soul together, because by the grace of the Lord, everything is carried out automatically. So after this kind of assurance, what is the doubt? Why we should be worried? Why should be stressed? Why should, means about material things or for whatever thing, whatever happens, that's Krishna's plan. And in the modern world, where hypocrisy is exponentially growing, where leaders are engaged, where everything means, last week Amrish was telling that the terrible time is still coming, and means it's morally so down and everything is so up. But as a devotee, because of Krishna consciousness, we are still somehow we are able to go through this difficult time. I don't know if it's a difficult time or not, but we are able to survive. The other thing is that this evolution of Bhagavatam and all the Vedic scripture, which came from Brahmaji, which came as a tapa, and when all the knowledge came in his heart, then it goes through a disciplic succession. Then some seed verses are sung, and then Krishna, I'll not go that far, then Krishna giving all those instructions in Bhagavad Gita, and then devotees expanding it. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming, he's making it more simple, that Hari Nam. and then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and then Srila Prabhupada, and then Maharaj. And now I see Amrish Prabhu. The way he's fighting his way in this fast changing Hippocratic world is terrible. Means that I can. And then Amrish Prabhu had a vision for four generation, 5 generation. I cannot even think like that. So, and that's where this knowledge is okay. Whatever we talk about this and that, but we use this knowledge to fight with the materialistic forces. And in the world where everybody is cheating, and my default was trusting someone. First, I will trust, and then when I get cheated, oh man, I have gone wrong. So I've lost so much, and that's not the point. But even people like me have stopped trusting now. I just don't trust anyone. And I why should I trust? I ask question now. So when this kind of situation happening, it's not good for preaching or doing devotional activities. In fact, the time I am struggling with time now. I can't manage because I try to talk to all the devotees, and I said there are many people who want to talk to me. Last week I had a class with a devotee in Germany, and so we had a three-way call in various countries, but I said no, I want to talk to them, and somehow they manifested. So I try to talk to them because I think unless I talk to them and how they will understand. And then all the knowledge which is coming through head office or Maharaj, it is a hardcore philosophy. This is my very personal relation. And this has to be practically implemented in day-to-day life. Okay, we all look nice, we all talk nice, but what is the use unless we can apply this knowledge? And so this is my difficulty. I'm really struggling with time. And and I don't know how long I can continue, how long I will be continuing these classes. I am not sure, but my intention is to attend these classes. So I don't know what Krishna's plan is and what he is doing. Everything, material forces are against us. Everywhere, where you look upon, everywhere it is against us. So in these circumstances, the only hope, I remember very early stage, Amrit will say that if times become more difficult, your bhakti should intensify. I may not use the correct word, but you probably already have heard this sentence. So that's where I am at. And this knowledge, imperishable knowledge, and the service of devotional service. And then Prabhupada writing one, and he keeps talking about this. I said, I trust this 100%. I said, and I remember in our one of the classes, Amrita said, just do it. Leave the result to Krishna. So I'm still same. People cheat me, people disregard me, people whatever they want to do, but I just don't. I just move on. But maybe I still don't know how to structure myself. I still don't know how to plan, but I stick to those values, and I try to glorify Maharaj. I try to glorify Amrish Prabhu. We talk about Amrish Prabhu so much because that's my intention, that the devotees who are being preached or being preached by me, they should get connected. Because I know I'm not capable. I know I'm useless. I know I'm arrogant. I know I don't have a good behavior. I have got all the bad qualities. My father used to say, "बुरा जो देखन मैं चला, बुरा न मिल गया कोई, जो दिल खोजा आपने, मुझसे बुरा न कोई." So that's me. And thank you for all the devotees who tolerate me, and you are so nice. I'm very fortunate to be with all of you, but I don't know how long it will continue. Please bless us so that I can continue in devotional service of Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhu, Her Grace Panpege Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu for giving us opportunity to study and share our realization on Bhagavad Gita verses and training us all this while. So today we're studying Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verse 20. This is the last verse of this chapter. Etu dharmatmritam idam यथोक्तं पर्युपासते श्रद्धा दाना मत परमा भक्तस्ते अतीव मे प्रियः. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. So it's a very, very important verse. And as we see, actually, how so far what we discussed in previous verses, that actually Krishna is describing the transcendental qualities of a pure devotee. And all this while he's every time he mentioned that, so the devotees who has these transcendental qualities, they're very dear to him. And here now he's saying that one who's actually following this path of devotional service, the bhakti yoga, and who's always engaged, in rendering service to the Lord with a firm faith, and their only objective is to actually attain Krishna or understand Krishna. So Krishna consider them to be very, very dear to him. So Ativa me priyaha. So I was thinking, so who's very, very, very dear to Krishna? And Krishna is actually answering this question here. So one who's engaged in a bhakti yoga process, as Srila Prabhupada says, that one has to actually always engage 24/7. One has to become a yogast. And also we had a lot of discussion about as a grahast, how we can actually engage everything in Krishna's service. So the Yukta Vairag and all that. We actually, we have this discussion many times, and we always actually spoke on this point of actually whatever we have, all the resources, somehow we have to actually engage, in Krishna's service. And we have seen this practically, as Amrish Prabhu, conducted all this program, means we have been attending the program for the last, 10 to now 13, 14 years. So Amrish Prabhu actually tried to engage everyone, in some service somehow according to their capacity. So some people are donating, some people are donating their time, some are doing the services, some are doing the cooking. So now actually, it make all sense. Sometimes we think that it's too much, sometimes because we run out of time and we couldn't able to actually get everything done on time, and we always actually running behind. Sometimes even we don't used to get a time to chant. But the objective overall was actually what I understood is to actually keep everyone engaged. Even people who do not come to our program, actually we used to collect the bhoga donations. So there is some actually connection, that actually that Amrish Prabhu provided the opportunity. Somehow actually they are engaged indirectly or directly in Krishna's service. So by engaging their money or their actually resources. So this is very, very actually important from actually what I studied, in this 12th chapter, that Krishna actually gave many solutions. Initially he said that actually Maya Vesha Mano Ema, fix our mind and intelligence completely on him, engage him in his service, satatam, all the time. And then actually one who cannot do this, then actually they can actually follow the regulative principles and actually engage their resources and so on. He gives many actually options. So here So he's saying that one who's actually always engaging is actually always engaging, rendering service unto him, and with a firm faith actually. So that word is very, very important, not actually, sometime we are actually try to serve with a faith, and sometime we are not on the same level. One who's actually distracting from the path, and again coming back. So the firm faith is very, very important. So that is actually is very important, that actually people who actually make Krishna is the only object in their lives. So as we always actually means had a discussions, actually even Srila Prabhupada in his lecture always mentioned actually the purpose of a human life, why we are born. So Srila Prabhupada always stress on that point, that actually, aham brahmasmi, one has to inquire about actually the supreme absolute truth. And now we say not just inquire, curiosity is there, but actually when we know, when we get the association of a devotee, one has to actually engage in rendering a service. So here Srila Prabhupada actually mentioned that actually he used the term the religion of eternal engagement, which I actually found, actually I was thinking on that point, actually I never read this term before, Srila Prabhupada's purport, that he says a religion of eternal engagement. So that made me think as well, actually. So, it's religion, we had many definition that actually been discussed in the past, as well as the purpose for which we come into existence, or the one that's actually uh, maintain our actually or sustain our existence, so there are different actually definitions, more or less in a similar meaning. But here, as constitutional position of a spirit soul, as we always say, that is a subordinate, and his only business is to render a service to Krishna. And here, Krishna is saying that one who's always rendering service, with a firm faith, he's very, very dear to him. And in chapter actually 7, I remember this point, that actually Krishna, he mentioned that actually whatever faith, actually a living entity has, he actually make that faith very strong. So as per their desire. So someone may have actually faith in a demigod worship. So he make his faith very strong, that actually they remain engaged in rendering service to that particular demigod. Some may do not have faith in God at all, atheist. So Srila Prabhupada actually said that actually one who do not want to remember Krishna, Krishna make his faith very firm, and he goes away from Krishna so long that there is no opportunity to come back. Yet, actually, as it is actually very clearly mentioned, that Krishna is situated as a Paramatma in everyone's heart, and he's always guiding everyone, and he's always trying to bring everybody back on this path, so that they can actually return back to the Godhead, back to Krishna. So our actually natural inclination is to serve Krishna, but now we are not actually naturally inclined. From what I think myself, when we started, I have to force myself to actually engage in the services, even the chanting. So over time, I think, we are changing a little bit. I can see the difference a little bit, but still it's a far, far away. That it has to become very natural, that we should always think about serving Krishna. I don't have to push myself to do. So it has to become a second nature. So that is actually objective. And Srila Prabhupada always said that actually Vasudeva Paragati, him actually I remember this verse where Srila Prabhupada, I think he mentioned Vasudeva Paragati, the ultimate object of a life for especially for the human, is to actually, Krishna is the supreme goal. So when I think about it, actually, so all these processes are very, very important, that we do in our program, the preaching, or actually the bhoga distribution, or even the scriptural study, sharing up a realization. So it actually engaging us physically, mentally as well. We have been forced to think sometime, forced to think and write realizations. So in somehow we are actually forced to think about Krishna. I'm talking about myself. But I always actually means it came to mind that it should become a second nature. as Srila Prabhupada said, that sometimes we fall into devotional service, but actually it has to be reverse. We should be always in a devotional service. We sometimes actually get it distracted by material things. So this is very, very important, that actually that we should understand the ultimate object of the human existence is the actually try to understand Krishna or attain Krishna, or remain engaged in serving him. So here Srila Prabhupada further state that what is the better process, the Bhakti Yoga process or the impersonalism. So the point that I found actually found very interesting is that Srila Prabhupada mentioned, of course, Krishna actually very explicitly, confirmed that actually the devotional service, rendering direct devotional service unto him under the guidance of spiritual master is actually the best process among all the processes mentioned so far. But the impersonalism where he made that actually when someone who do not actually have the fortune to get in association of a pure devotee, then impersonalism might be helpful. He actually make that point in a purport, and that made me think, that if somebody is not actually, fortunate enough to get into contact of a pure devotee or his association, then even the impersonalism process can be beneficial. At least actually, it will actually help them progress to the next step. So as we see, there is actually gradual progression from actually the karmi to the actually jnani to the yogi, and ultimately yogi to the bhakti yoga process. But for us, we are actually, because we have been preached, we have been actually taught to actually render service unto Krishna directly. So Srila Prabhupada says that we don't have to go through this step by step. We can directly be engaged with the grace of the actually spiritual master. Here we can see that we have been taught the instruction of Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, and Amrish Prabhu always instructing us. We have to remain engaged all the time. So all these points are very, very important. But the personalism, I think this is a new point actually I read, from Srila Prabhupada, that personalism can be beneficial for someone who's cannot be actually come into contact with a pure devotee. So yeah, that is actually it's a new point for me. I'm still actually thinking on that point, because I still remember actually Mahaprabhu made the statement that actually the impersonalism is like a spiritual suicide. So maybe it was made in the context where actually we have the opportunity to be engaged in serving the Krishna, but we still choose to follow the impersonalism. So all these points, are very, very important actually to understand. Even actually the whole chapter, I found it very, very revealing and actually confirming the actually what we have learned so far in our program. And practically I try to relate myself, what actually we do and what are the instructions actually they are mentioned in here in chapter 12. And I found, actually there's a direct relevance, and actually I'm quite satisfied. Actually we are on the right track, and we are under the actually protection of Guru, Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, Amrish Prabhu, always actually passing on all the instruction as it is. So so it's good start for me, but actually I have to actually make my faith stronger. As Avinash Prabhu also said, no, we can actually have all this knowledge or speak very nicely, but we cannot actually implement practically 24/7 as Krishna says, who's always engaged. Then we may not actually achieve the ultimate goal of actually being remain engaged in serving Krishna purely without any material motives, without any actually interruptions. That way I always seen that there is always a material things that come into in the way of actually rendering a service. But unless we try, unless we have the willingness to try and overcome them, we will always end up with the excuse of some material excuse that I cannot do this service for this reason. So this is something for me to actually convince myself and actually force myself to implement practically. So this is what I realized from actually the what I actually understood, these points from this purport. Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Looks like we conclude today then. All the realizations have been made. Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki Jai.
Jai.
Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai.
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 Shri Gurudev ki Jai.
Jai.
Word to word synonyms, translations and purport by Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Shinitai Gaur Chandra Premanande. Hari Hari
Hare
Bol.
Hare
Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you,
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Guruji.
Krishna. Thank you,
Krishna.
Guruji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.